distinguished guests, good afternoon. The Anthony N. Sadler Awards is the first program of its kind in the Caribbean. 4 prizes are awarded annually for achievements in arts and letters, entrepreneurship, public and civic contributions, and science and technology. The philosophy behind the awards is that in order for the Caribbean to develop in the sense of a civilization rather than an industrial center, excellence in key fields of endeavor must be sought out, rewarded, and promoted for the benefit of all citizens. Today we are pleased to have with us the chairperson of our eminent persons panel, Professor Mohan. Please welcome our chairman.
We who are here this afternoon are enjoined to take pride in the accomplishment of those persons who have been named as the laureates for 2022. The process leading to the final recommendation is a very open and competitive one. Any Caribbean person can be nominated. There is even the possibility of self-nomination. However, nominees should have demonstrable, recognized record of consistently superior, excellent, and original work, and should have potential for future development. All of our laureates in 2022, as in previous years, satisfy those demanding criteria. As we have heard, nominations can be in any one of 4 categories: arts and letters, entrepreneurship, public and civic contributions, and science and technology. Each category is considered of fundamental importance to the social and economic development imperatives of our Caribbean nations, and this requires no elaboration in this gathering. The potential nominees in any year are scrutinized and assessed by one of 5 country nominating committees: representative of Barbados, Guyana, Jamaica, the OECS, and Trinidad and Tobago. The country nominating committees are empowered to go beyond their geographical boundaries in nominating candidates for the award, as has been done by Guyana twice in nominating Surinamese nationals. I want to take this occasion to pay tribute to the tireless efforts of the country nominating committees in ensuring that there is always a worthy list of nominees for consideration by the regional eminent persons panel. The current chairs of the country nominating committees are Dr. Angela Aline from Barbados, Mr. Al Crichton, Guyana, Mr. Maurice Seymour, Jamaica, Dr. Lennox Honeychurch, OECS, and Mrs. Helen Drayton, Trinidad and Tobago. Now, the regional eminent persons panel convenes every year to receive oral and video presentations on the nominees from the country nominating committees and to discuss the merits of the respective candidates. I can tell you that the process is very thorough and sometimes very exhausting, certainly very detailed. There are so many truly worthy nominees for consideration that in the final analysis, it is a matter of fine judgment. I wish to acknowledge in this forum the very valuable contributions of my colleagues on the Regional Eminent Persons panel, namely Justice Christopher Blackman, Mr. Christopher Bovell, Professor Emerita Bridget Burton, Mrs. Charmaine Gardner, Sir Kenneth Hall, Professor Nigel Harris, Ambassador Irvin LaRocque, Mrs. Diana Habby Wyatt, Justice Ralston Nelson, and Major General Joseph Sim. Now, with these few introductory remarks, I will soon yield the floor, but not before expressing, as my immediate predecessor, Sir Sridhar Ramphal has done on so many occasions, our collective appreciation and high regard for the public spiritedness and commitment to fostering Caribbean excellence, which the Anson McCall Foundation and the Sadler family have unwaveringly displayed from the inception of the Anthony N. Sadler Caribbean Awards Excellence in 2005. I thank you for your attention.
I am here on behalf of the Anson McCall Foundation, and in that capacity I am honored, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the 14th award ceremony of the Anthony N. Sadler Awards, which, as you know, honors Caribbean excellence. Today we're here to recognize a truly exceptional Jamaican, Marlon James, for his contribution to literature and to the arts generally. And as you all know, Mr. James has written prodigiously, telling the stories of Jamaicans, its people, and also telling the story of the Caribbean. And he does it with such skill and compassion and verve that, that he's been recognized as one of the leading novelists in the world and has done the whole Caribbean a great honor. And I understand that you are at the moment filming a version of one of your novels, Finding Willie Black, and it's commenced recently and in Kingston, and I think the whole Caribbean is looking forward to seeing it. I hope it comes out soon. Mr. James's vision, his talent, and his drive to achieve and to make a difference are qualities that, when we are choosing laureates, we look for as one of the most important traits. And they are qualities that all of our laureates do exhibit. That's why they're laureates. But what is amazing is that their abilities to look at our lives and our societies and describe what I can only call the beating heart, to explore the nature of our best selves. They're more than admirable, because laureates do this through their individual fields of work. For example, science, art, which we know about because of Mr. James, but also social activism, which has been one of the most focused areas in Jamaican laureates, and entrepreneurship, without which the future would not be sustained. Looking at Mr. James and our other laureates this year, I could see what the foundation, the founder of these awards, Dr. Sadler, for whom they're named, admired most. And Dr. Sadler, for those who knew him, was really a Caribbean man. He, long before our Calypsonian black stallion developed the term, I think it was in 1979. Dr. Sadler, as a young businessman, traveled the region in pursuit of his vision to create a pan-Caribbean organization serving the needs of our entire region and of all of our Caribbean people. Early in his career, he invested a lot of time and a lot of resources into establishing many businesses throughout the region. And today, the Ansa-Macal Empire employs hundreds of persons here in Jamaica and over 6,000 people throughout the Caribbean. He really was firmly of the belief that people were the most valuable asset in any organization and in any region. From his travels, he interacted with many very, very talented and skilled Caribbean people, and he felt compelled to find a way to harness that talent and to help people to propel their good work for the benefit of the region, which is a realization on his part that led to the formation of the Anthony and Sabga Awards, honoring Caribbean excellence, and there is so much Caribbean excellence that needs honoring. And the purpose of this foundation is to bring to light the brilliance of Caribbean people, which we think has not been acknowledged worldwide as much as it should have been. Those who really do exemplify and reflect the true essence of the 6 traits that he concentrated on, and these are leadership, collaboration, persistence, and he was persistent, dedication, creativity, which Mr. James has showed us, and innovation. And we can see all of these traits in our laureates for 2022. We've seen them in Dr. Kim Jabbat Singh, who is the ophthalmologist in Barbados, who has achieved prominence by educating Bajans and West Indians generally about the importance of eye care. And she has shared her skills for regional benefit as well. And we see it in Sham Nokta, whose love for his native land inspired him to form an environmental business that protects nature, the most valuable resource in Guyana, and probably the most valuable resource anywhere. We see it in Anushka Vaj of Sonai, who was just mentioned, who uses the internet as a tool to empower women and girls and to improve the lives of young and old people in her native Suriname and regionally. And Guyana has generously shared their access to the awards with Suriname. And then there is Professor Christine Carrington of Trinidad, whose work as a scientist was able to provide help to the regional efforts in combating the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Jamaica's other laureates, even as we are preparing to induct Mr. James. And I want to mention them because I think that Jamaica has probably more laureates than any other individual country in the West Indies. If not entirely, it comes very close. And these include Professor Terence Forrester, who was a laureate in 2006, Professor Michael Taylor in 2009, Professor Rafika Delgado, who was last year, who won the Science and Technology Prize, as the others did. They joined Monsignor Gregory Ramkassoon, who won in 2006. Mrs. Claudette Richardson Pius in 2008, Dr. Arlene Burke in 2020, and Dr. Floyd Morris in 2021. All of these won for public and civic contributions. And of course, Mr. Kay Miller, who won for Arts and Letters in 2018, and Miss Kimala Bennett, who won in 2019, and last year, Dr. Luna Napuri in Entrepreneurship. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, Mr. James is in distinguished company and continues to show that Jamaica is a powerhouse of excellence. I'd like to leave you with a gift our founder left behind, and that is a sense of hope in our Caribbean life and culture. We have the skills, we have the resourcefulness, and we have the talent within our region to transform our lives and to enable the well-being of all our people here in the Caribbean and those who will be born and come to belong to the Caribbean in the future. We at the Anthony and the Saga Awards are honored to highlight these great feats and to celebrate Caribbean excellence and to assist in the furtherance of the work that is being done by the great citizens of the Caribbean. Thank you very much.
Deputy Governor General, former Governor General, it's so great to see you and be here. Directors and members of the Anson McCall Foundation, the Sagma family, and distinguished guests, and you're all distinguished guests. It's so great to be here. You know, my mother couldn't be here. She's not feeling so well today. She couldn't be here, but I was thinking of her, and I was thinking of how what she contributed to my sort of literary sensibility. And you know, people ask me what books did my mother introduce me to. She actually didn't introduce me to any. What she did was leave books around, and that was important for two reasons. One, that I came to discover books. Some of them very good, some of them not so good, some of them I shouldn't be reading. But more than that, she reinforced this idea that reading literature was an act of free will. And it's a private act. And you know, when the oppressors come, they always burn the books first. And one of the reasons, of course, is because reading is an act of free will. And it's a private act. And you can realize yourself, you can recognize yourself, you can liberate yourself. You can see what, you know, the world has done. You can see history. And all of that takes place in your head. Sometimes you have been totally liberated from your world and nobody knows but you. Which is why books are so exhilarating and books are sometimes dangerous. And which is why I know I had to write them, because of those two things. But there is something truly special about getting acclaim or getting an award in the Caribbean. And mostly it means because we're paying attention to the great things that are happening in our region. And it is so meaningful to be recognized in basically my own house. There is a sort of a Caribbean cliche about people getting acclaim abroad, and that has happened, of course, for those of you who've read the bio. But you know, awards come with the legacies of their names. And it's a fantastic legacy that Anthony Sagba is leaving behind. One of Pan-Caribbeanism, which for a lot of us, certainly writers and artists in Jamaica, that we have been sometimes slow to adopt. Sometimes I jokingly call Jamaica the Texas of the Caribbean, in the sense that we have fully formed Jamaican sensibilities, but we're still kind of working on a Caribbean one. And I think the great thing about visionaries like Anthony Sagba is that he saw the future before us, and the future is us sort of working together and appreciating the talents that we have in the Caribbean. One of the problems with foreign awards, and I say that as somebody who's won a few of them, is that when you win a foreign award, foreign likes to take credit for you being award worthy. Usually whenever I'm on stage, if it's something to do with the Booker Prize, sometimes it's not even asked, it's just assumed, which British college did I go to? Or which foreign high school did I go to? And I go, Wilmer's Boys in Kingston. And I go, which foreign college? I go, University of the West Indies, but they do have a foreign campus in St. Augustine, if that's what you're asking. The point being that my literary and historical sensibilities were already formed here. Because of fantastic teachers, most of whom I remember by name. I still remember Daphne Chin, who hit upon this radical idea to teach basic school, the primary school syllabus. I don't recommend it. But it did make me a genius for 7 years in the next school I went to. I still think of E.C. Barnett, Corbridge Barnett, the principal of Wilmer's Boys, who taught me history. And Annette Leo taught me literature, and those are some of the twin peaks of what made me a historical novelist. But I also remember the first time I saw this novel, The Year in San Fernando by Michael Anthony. And before we even talk about the novel itself, the idea of picking up a book with a black boy on the cover was shocking to me. I like to think, I like to tell myself that I'm the first of a new generation. I'm actually the last of an old. Meaning that I can remember reading Enid Blyton and reading about snow and reading all these foreign books. And they're good books. Well, Enid Blyton is a terrible book, but let's use it for the example. But the idea of reading and participating in literature where I could never see myself, or people like me, or people like us in it. And just being electrified by that book, The Year in San Fernando, and that writer. And then going on to seeing other literature from the Caribbean. And again, it's something, when you're not from the Caribbean, you can take for granted. An American can take for granted having an American in a novel. A British person can take for granted seeing a Brit in a novel. It's still, at least for me, it was still pretty shocking because we were not really told that our voices and our stories was worthy of literature. And sometimes it's just a sensibility that I picked up. So that kind of education, that literary sensibility, was formed here. I brought up my mother before, because my mother, for those of you who don't know, my mother was a member of the Jamaican Constabulary Force. She was one of the first Jamaican women to reach the rank of detective. And I say that because writing to me has always been a form of detective work, which may be the thing I got from her, and certainly the thing she would say I took from her. And as a writer, I'm always looking for the story behind the story. The interior story, the story that wasn't told correctly, or the story that was told quietly, or the story that wasn't told at all. And as a novelist, and as a historical novelist, which I'm sometimes called, I find it, I consider it an obligation and duty to uncover those interior histories. Historical novels, I say sort of with a slight chagrin, because I write about the 1990s, which, as far as I'm concerned, is not history yet. But I, as a novelist and as a writer, as a person in the Caribbean, feel the past should be investigated, and the past should be interrogated, and the past should be learned from. We have that cliche, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. But then that's why we tell stories, and that's why stories come alive. And I remember stories from the first time I was being told. I remember stories from my grandfather, stories lying around. The Caribbean has always been this repository of stories. We have never lacked material. It's one of the reasons why I'm here shooting a television show. It's a Jamaican show with Jamaican actors, with a Jamaican story, talking Jamaican patois. Who don't understand it, that's their problem. But they just to say that all that I've ever needed to tell a story, I've found here. And all I ever needed to become a writer, I found here. All I ever needed to become a literary citizen, I found in this country, in this territory, in this region. And which is why it is absolutely and so wonderful and meaningful to receive this award and to be surrounded by all of this excellence. I sometimes go, why am I here? But again, thank you so much for this award, and thank you so much for shining a light on Caribbean literature and Caribbean arts and Caribbean excellence. And I really hope that this is, a sign, or at least the beginning of a greater sort of Caribbean identity and a greater sort of a Caribbean relationship. And as we sort of, we move forward, slightly uncertain time, but we have our writers and we have our artists and our scientists and our musicians to guide the way, and I hope we continue to do so. So thank you guys so much.
The Honorable Stedman Fuller, Deputy Governor General of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Professor Sir Kenneth O. Hall, former Governor General of Jamaica, Mrs. Diana Mahabir-Wyatt, Director of the Anson McCall Foundation, Professor Compton Bourne, Chairman of the Regional Eminent Persons Panel of the Anthony and Sadler Awards Caribbean Excellence, Mr. Christopher Bovell, Jamaica's representative, or one of Jamaica's representatives on the Regional Eminent Persons Panel, Mr. Maureen Seymour, Chair, Jamaica Nominating Committee, and other members of the committee, Mr. Marlon James, 2022 Laureate in Arts and Letters, members of our College of Laureates, and we have one member here with us today, Kamala Bennett, our 2019 Entrepreneur Laureate. Did Mr. Mahace arrive? No, he didn't. Okay. Distinguished guests, good afternoon. It is wonderful to be back in Jamaica for this award ceremony. A more intimate affair than the last big one that we had, but just as significant. And it is the second presentation ceremony to be held this year, with Barbados being the first only 12 days ago. Putting together this ceremony requires the cooperation and strategizing of many, and that we have come to this point is due in no small measure to the cooperation we at the Program Office in Trinidad received. Allow me first to thank Mrs. Patricia Rodney Avery, Senior Executive Assistant to His Excellency the Governor General, Major Dwayne Hill, ADECA, and Ms. Heather Bernard, Private Secretary to the Deputy Governor General. To each one, I say thank you for responding to our many requests with the ease and proficiency that you did. Our most grateful thanks go to Ms. Peter Gay Levin Thomas, Marketing Manager, Senior Regional Brand Lead, Berger Paints, Jamaica Limited. Thank you for your advice, your leg, hand work, and your patience. We got it done with your tremendous help. Thank you, Pettigrew. And I must thank Mr. Mahace for agreeing to loan us his staff and for taking it all in stride so graciously. With the Jamaica Nominating Committee headed by Mr. Maureen Seymour and supported by Mr. Brian Heath, Ms. Mine Israel, Professor Ishan Kumba Kawa, Ms. Patrona Morrison, Mr. Milton Samuda, and Dr. Kimberly Robinson Walcott, I say thank you. And I would like those who are present here from the committee to stand. Let's recognize this hard-working committee, please. You work hard at presenting us with outstanding candidates each year, and we are happy that you're able to come and share this moment with us. We look forward to returning to Jamaica soon to celebrate other candidates. Last evening, the Jamaica Nominating Committee was recommissioned and selected Professor Ishan Kumba Kawa as its new chair for the 2023 program year. And I do look forward to working with him. I also acknowledge the work done by Mr. Maureen Seymour as chair over the last 4 years, and I am grateful that he's continuing to work on the committee. Thank you, Maureen. The selection of candidates rests with the Regional Eminent Persons Panel, which is now headed by Professor Compton Bourne. Each year, the panel provides us with the most outstanding laureates, and we take pride in the fact that each candidate selected as a laureate has been worthy of that accolade. Thank you, Mr. Christopher Bovel and Sir Kenneth Hall, for being valuable contributors to the panel's success. To Ms. Demi Walker, I say thank you for the research you do on the candidates and the overall support you provide to the Jamaica Nominating Committee to enable them to make their decision on which candidates to put forward. The function of researcher is critical to the awards program in order to rigorously verify submissions. Thank you, Demi, and I'm sorry she's not with us this afternoon. Mr. James, thank you for accepting the Anthony and Sager Award in Arts and Letters. But as you know, these awards are intended to spur greater achievement. So we look forward to the birth of many, many, many more stories. To our service providers, Karen Clark and An Elegant Affair Events and her staff, thank you. Derek Foster and Brian Ricketts for videography and photography. Novelty Party Rentals and Thai Flora, thank you all. Honorable Deputy Governor General, thank you for your tangible support and for affording us this wonderful opportunity to recognize and celebrate one of Jamaica's finest this afternoon. Our sincerest gratitude.